Caucus started. Council, I want to have us, like we usually do, go through looking at ordinances for final passage first to see if we have any questions. So if anybody has any questions, things that they want to bring up, need clarification on, we do have Ms. Deb Smith down here to also answer any questions on any of these block grants as well. I guess just for my own, for clarification, and I don't know if you know this, Mayor, if maybe we go to Ms. Smith, is this the money that we were promised or we're going to be awarded, or is this the presumptive amount? I should have asked this prior. I apologize.
I believe we know the amount now that we're being awarded. Is that right, Deborah? Yes. I have to look to her because she knows everything. So, yes. Okay, so these are actual numbers. Yes.
Thank you. All right, then if there are no questions on any of the ordinances for first or for final reading, we can go on to the ordinances for first reading. There are some things I do want us to go into here, but I'll first open it up to council to see if there are any questions that you all have right now for first reading.
Can we discuss what was being amended for the landlord and rental?
Absolutely. And so the solicitor's brought down, I think it's like a side-by-side or red line, so you can see what the current ordinance and then what the amendments will be.
Thank you.
While the solicitor is handing those red lines out so you can see the actual changes, I'll just summarize, and then if you have additional questions. And Councilor Flores, thank you for asking this because I think there's a lot of confusion here. So the first one you'll see is Article 330, landlord and rental. So that ordinance, basically, if you look at your red line copy, what we've done there is we have added definitions. So these definitions were all in other ordinances. We've just put them all in one place so that when you read the ordinance, you know what you're talking about. These are not new definitions. These are all definitions that have been taken from other ordinances and put them all in one place. Please.
And then I can specify that most of these new definitions, I'm saying quote unquote, are actually come from Article 354, which is the Tenant Bill of Rights article. So these definitions come specifically from another rental section of the City of Erie's ordinances. Okay, so these were added in 2024.
And the Tenant Bill of Rights was actually just pulled down from the state regulations, correct?
Right. Yeah, that overall ordinance was a summarized version of federal, state, and local things that renters should know, but it wasn't like definitive. It was like I said, it was a kind of a summarized version.
So the definitions are one. We've added the definitions, again, taking them from other ordinances and inserting them here. And then in the second section, you'll see we are making a change. We're proposing a change to the period of time that a rental has to be inspected. So we are, if you have positive inspections, we would allow it to be one every 2 years. It was every 4 years. We're reducing it to 2. You know, this is something we've talked about with all of you. If you go to exemptions, the only change we're adding here is that our building code official will be given the copy of inspection results for housing authority properties. The only properties that would be exempt from inspection would be housing authority owned, public housing, not Section 8. Section 8 will be subject, but housing authority owned will be exempt, but we would have to be given copies of inspection, so we have them on file. And then fees. So in Section 330, you'll see there we are changing the fees. We've discussed this with all of you, changing those from 40 to 55, and then increasing the late fee. So I want to be really clear. This ordinance does not address the change with BIU. There's nothing in there about that. We still have discussions we're going to be having. What it changes is the fee and the frequency of the inspection, which we would either do in-house or if we continued with BIU. So just want to be very, very clear about that. And then the second ordinance is around the codified ordinances for enforcement of noncompliance. The only change we're making here is that we can make notification for stop work order and other orders, that we can do that by regular mail. So solicitor, I don't know if you want to add the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, regular mail, so this was added to each of those 3 subsections. This is to help get notice out to people with violations. A lot of times with certified mail, if they don't respond or they avoid service that way, or if we can't get personal service, then we can also send it by first-class mail. And then if that first-class mail is not returned, that lets us know, or at least tell the judge at a later date, like, hey, we tried all these different methods. And again, these are for people who have active ongoing violations that are not working with the city. So these are really to help with the worst offenders.
So really very minor changes tonight. Again, things we've talked about. I know there's a lot of concern that these ordinances are somehow putting into effect immediately the change with BIU. They are not. It's not mentioned here. This is just about fees, frequency, and the use of mail.
I can cut in real quick on that too. So when she said, so really, the goal is that in, say, 3 or 4 months, the city will make some changes and implement these. However, the practical effect is this really won't start until 2027. So fee increases that are not retroactive, okay, in case there's some fear. So this fees would start to be paid in 2027. The inspections, would start again on this new schedule in 2027. So that's the other thing I want to let you know, because you can't, like I said, retroactively change the law and say, oh, you now have to abide by these new rules.
Dr. Titus, Mayor.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody, first and foremost. Thank you, Mayor Devlin and Attorney Check, for clarity, for the public and for BUI, because it's a lot of stuff swirling around out there, and misinformation is worse than no information. And so I'm glad that we established that on the public record, because most assuredly someone will come down and start pointing the finger saying we shouldn't be changing things on the stop of on a dime. And I believe that there are a lot of important conversations to be had with as far as the certifications and what all that entails. So I appreciate very much you all making that point.
And I think going back to section 330.05, one of the things that we have discussed, and it has been, I know several community members have reached out to counselors about, around the housing authority, and I want to draw council's attention to this. The very last line in section A, it says, the building code official, the BCO, shall be given a copy of the inspection results for each unit, and the inspections of this facility must be at a level which meets or exceeds the code. So when we have our own, like when our code is there, the inspections have to rise to that same level or go above and beyond. And if not, I believe that there are steps that we could assist or take in doing inspections.
Well, very simply is that if we get the report and we're like, we compare it to what our standards are, and if the city feels that it's below their standards, then the city could send their own inspector. Just that simple. So, and that way, everyone is at the same level, we're on the same playing field.
And I think it's important to highlight that because some of our most vulnerable are living in some of these houses, and to make sure that everybody is held to the same standard, and that equity is being across the board when it comes to just the code official, or the code inspections and the passing of these, because that's something that I know many of us receive a lot of emails about, or just concerns, and this has been something that I'm glad to see that we're just making sure that everyone knows that they're going to meet or exceed our own inspections.
And last on this subject from me anyway, is that there should be some type of awareness campaign to landlords and tenants alike that these changes are forthcoming to be enacted in January of 2027.
Yeah. I know myself and a few other members from the administration have been working with some of the local groups to try to build up an awareness campaign, and so I'm hopeful that we can do that, because information is only as powerful as those who have it. So we need to get it out and make sure that people are aware of the changes. And then also, what do they do if they feel that their rights have been violated, or like, so we are all working in tandem, yeah.
And Dr. Titus, if I could add, yes, I agree with you on the tenant side. On the landlord side, I will remind council that we did attend the apartment association meeting in May. We talked about these specific changes. I know that they are eager to meet with us again to discuss the inspection checklist, which, again, not addressed in this ordinance. We will be meeting with them to do that. So I just want to be very clear, we recognize that that education needs to go on both sides, and we are eager to do that. But the fees and the timeline were something that we've been talking about for a very long time, and to the solicitor's point, will not go into effect until 2027. We recognize we still have more work to do on those other pieces, and we fully intend to do that.
Dr. Titus, I mentioned this before about another idea, but maybe one way is to just take these ordinances and take little pieces and put something on the agenda, like each time, each meeting, just to say, hey, remember this, remember, that way it's just ongoing communication about it.
Sort of like an ordinance of the meeting kind of PSA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, we just want to keep it in the forefront so it's not like,
And I think, too, with just the social media team that with the administration has been really great on just breaking down some of the ordinances and kind of explaining. So I think that's another venue that we'll also be using, is making sure that we're pushing it out on the social media side and on the website, and the newsletter as well. I'm sure will be another great spot for it, too.
I'll add, we got a landlord who emailed and said, the issue of trash with their tenants, we talk about it a lot, and they said, could you create some sort of document that talks about when pickup nights are, what requirements are? And I said, absolutely. So, my office will work on that. We'll give it to this landlord and anyone else who wants it. They can distribute it to their tenants. Like, we can do all of those things. And that was a great idea and a great request by him. We're happy to take those requests and continue.
Walking talks.
Yeah.
About trash.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on those two ordinances for the first reading tonight? Yes.
Sorry, final passage. Number 1, Council File number 16612. On the original ordinance that we already signed for first reading, there was a $2 discrepancy, which has been fixed, and I'm going to say as amended, and I just wanted to tell you why.
Okay. Did all the councilors hear that? Okay.
Could you repeat that?
So there's,
Just want to be a little
yep,
speak.
okay. Say it with your full chest, no.
Yeah, one by $2 worth.
Yes.
Dan
All right.
caught it.
All right, then when we go down looking at new business, does anybody have any questions or things that they would like to discuss under new business?
While we're here, before we disperse and get ready for our regular meeting, I want to say how much fun I had this afternoon, the hot dog.
I think your mic's off.
Appreciation.
Yeah.
City appreciation. I got to meet some of the new employees, some of the city employees that I didn't know, and that's always good. And so I thank you, whoever's responsible, whatever part they played, big or small. It was a nice event, and so we should do it again.
I will say the Employee Activities Committee put that on. I agree. They did a very nice job. It was all their idea. They did all the planning. And so, yes, it was a very nice. I'm glad the weather held out for them and for everyone. So thank you for coming. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Did you want to, Mayor, give an update on just some of the appointments that we'll be making? I know we have two, we could just leave it under the committee reports.
So under committee reports, you'll see these are, as we've discussed, these are mayoral appointments that don't require council approval. So some of my appointments require your approval, some do not. These don't. but we're putting them on the agenda just so people are aware of them. So reappointing Sean Dugan to the Housing Authority. Sean's been on that authority. His term is expiring, and I'd reached out to Dusty Dennis, and she had asked to continue. And then secondarily, Dr. Tony Snow's term expired on the Parking Authority. We certainly appreciate Dr. Snow's many years of service, but did feel that it was time for new voices. We're working very hard to bring some new voices to the table. And in fact, I asked Councilor Horton if he had any thoughts, because I know he and I feel passionately about the Parking Authority. And so he gave me the name of Andrea Carr, who I knew, and we reviewed Ms. Carr's resume, and very impressed, feel that she's going to be a great addition to the Parking Authority.
Thank you.
I think that's a great segue to the question on what's next with the Parking Authority, since their last meeting was canceled, and I think that, I don't know how anybody else feels, but I'm kind of operating with the fierce urgency of now.
To my knowledge, nobody else has received, and I guess this is more of a looking for an affirmation, a date from them on when they would be able to do a study session?
No, I reached out on Monday. I sent a letter to their solicitor, just from solicitor to solicitor, saying, hey, the city would like to talk about several issues. It was like what I would describe as a one-page letter. Please get back to me, and then I was going to follow up next week.
Okay.
And then I also wanted to give Andrea time to, attend the meeting. I don't think there's a meeting until July 14th, if I'm correct. So there's that as well.
And Councilor Horton, I have also instructed the solicitor to have the deputy solicitor work on a draft MOU. So we had intended that we would come together as a body and discuss. In the absence of that, we are working now on our draft that, with our requests, our parts of that. So the deputy solicitor is working on that. We'll bring that draft to you, and without a meeting, we would then send it to them and say, this is where we are, at the very least.
Again, I'm operating under the fierce urgency of now, and so all of that is really, really good and fine and dandy, but I would like to see one other step taking, and that's at the same time simultaneously be working on do we have to file a court docket to get them to the table? Because my spirit is kind of telling me that that's kind of where that's going. They're going to make us file, and we should have that ready and in the queue as well.
Without disclosing too much to the public, I've discussed some things with the mayor, and I've done some research on my own about things that we could probably do to avoid litigation, or that might cause litigation, but I don't want to talk about that.
I'm going to stop right there because we kind of talked about some of those issues. I guess my frustration is boiling over.
Yeah. And I think it's important, and because this should be said for the public and just for council's reminder, there's been multiple attempts now by not just the councilor liaison, but also other individuals on council, myself directly, the mayor directly, the solicitor directly, through multiple forms of going in person, sending emails, doing phone calls, showing up, sending texts, requesting, and so this is definitely reached a point of intentional ignoring and not responding.
Dr. Titus, I think it's well beyond that, because it predates this administration and this rendition of council. And from what I'm hearing, we haven't made a lot of movement on it. I almost feel disrespected about it, in fact. And so I don't want to play with it. And I will leave it there, because some of this stuff is bordering on executive session type conversation, but I'm going to come here every week and reiterate the same thing until we get some motion.
Mm-hmm. Councilor Horton, I will tell you too, we asked PFM to review the financials of the Parking Authority. We forwarded them to them, and to perhaps include some recommendation or some information in their report to us. So I just want you to know, just to have another set of eyes looking at the financials, that hopefully will be part of their recommendation to us as well.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any other items on the agenda this evening that any councilors have questions about or would like further clarification on?
Dr. Titus,
Yes.
I do. So number 6 and 7, is Deb Smith still here?
Yes.
So, Deb, you have 2 different pots of money. That's for working with your office, right? Does it matter what repairs they're doing?
Good evening. Yes, actually, one is for CDBG, and so CDBG doesn't have to bring the house up to code. Home does have to bring the house up to code.
Thank you for that clarification. Thanks.
Well, I have a couple that aren't necessarily on the agenda, but I did want to go over. Earlier this week, was it yesterday, maybe? The days are kind of running together. There was, I think it was yesterday, the press conference around the Bayfront Master Plan. And so, not to put you on the spot, Mayor, but I'm going to put you on the spot. If you wouldn't mind giving council just a bit of an overview and just what the process looks like from here.
Yes, we've talked about this a few times, particularly in light of the projects that you've all spent so much time talking about. I do want to say to all of you, and I said it at the press conference yesterday, really grateful to council for all the time and energy that you put into those projects and the discussion. Grateful to the public for the engagement that we saw. So now that those 2 projects are behind us, I think we all understood the public was really crying out for a voice, and that we all understood that we needed a blueprint, a plan for everything that's left down there, all the land, the development, the plan. So we had been working for a few months to select a consultant. That consultant is WSP. They were the consultants on the Bayfront Parkway expansion. And they work with Perkins Eastman, which is a well-known national architecture firm, and another company that does market analysis. So that group was selected to lead us through this process. I want to be really clear, the city is not paying for any of that. It was funded by Erie Insurance, paid for some of it, and I think maybe the Erie Community Foundation. Infinite Erie is leading the charge in the sense that they contracted with the consultant and they're kind of project managing the consultant, but that's it. It's not that they have an outsized say. They're just leading the process. So yesterday we announced that process. There's a survey online. The process itself is called One Bayfront. There's a survey online that people can take that really talks about your hopes, your concerns, what you don't want to see, what you do want to see for the Bayfront. And then there will be a public open house on June 25th at the Intermodal Center at 4:30, where there will be some vision boards put out, kind of the first iteration of ideas, and the public will be asked to respond to those. And then there will be multiple points throughout the rest of the summer for, again, that iterative, going back and saying, what do you think about this? And then the public can do that back and forth. So the hope is that by the end of 2026, this blueprint has been created that takes into account market analysis, economic development, public voice, public access, transportation, all of that, and that it will at least guide us. So we have something that feels that it's been driven by the community's voice when additional projects come down the road. So I'm excited about it. I hope the community will take full advantage of it. You can expect to see a lot about it this summer. And we just want this to be a back and forth process as we really create this Bayfront, I think, that we all know that we deserve and that our children do as well.
And I would it's on the website, city website, so I would encourage each of us to at least share amongst the people we might have some influence with or with our social media. This is what people crying out about. The last time, they don't want to be brought in at the end or pontificated to. They want to be brought in at the beginning. And so I appreciate this process.
You said the survey was One Bayfront?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I believe there are more than one viewing. The 25th is the first.
It's the first, yes. And I think the 25th will be about the vision and goals. Like they want to do this in steps and stages. So that will be the first one. But the survey will be open for a period of time.
Any other questions regarding this process right now? I'm sure there'll be more as we kind of go on and we start to see some of the things that come up, but,
I
yes.
could say I've also let Infinite Erie know. I think they need to come do a presentation before all of you, so I think they are planning to do that as well. And then at some point in the summer, we would also ask you if you're willing to have the consultants come and do a presentation on what they're hearing at that moment, so that you also, we heard that loud and clear as well, that you are also kept in the loop as this continues.
Thank you.
That kind of matters.
Yeah. And I think to just also reiterate that this isn't, we also need to continue to look at the waterfront conditional uses, that ordinance in and of itself, and look at, as we're starting to hear, some of the feedback and reviewing the feedback that we received throughout this process is how do we build that into the existing ordinance to make sure that we've got equity, like the foundation laid for it right in the ordinance. So I know that there is still a consultant that I think the planning department is working with who's looking at some of those to see what some of the other cities are doing, and they'll bring those findings to council for us to kind of review. And I'm excited about that, to just have somebody, this is what they do, is they review ordinances across and figure out how we can make it a more equitable process, and so that the community is benefiting from all the development that will continue to happen on the Bayfront. Any other items that anybody would like to bring up on the agenda? I got a sticky note from our clerk. So if anybody is here, this is for the public, not for the council. As if anybody here is going to speak on a repository, and we do not have your information, if you could go over to the clerk's, right where she's waving her hand over here, so she can get that information for you so that we as council have it. So if you intend to speak on a repository sale tonight, to please make sure you're touching base with our clerk. I also did want to give an update on just a call that I had received from the county administration, and that was regarding some of the discussion we have started having at the last meeting around the ECRS SSA, that they heard at some of the feedback, and with especially when it came to like the location. So the location of that program is not going to be within probation. It's actually being moved to the public defender's office. And they felt that that would be more of a neutral space. And because that program, the public defender's office is supposed to be there helping people navigate the court system, and that they wouldn't feel, rightfully so, that they're going in front of a probation and having to disclose that they need help, or if there's been any slip-ups or where they might be struggling. So that's, I think that's a really important move for the program. And then after talking with several of the counselors on this one, given the ordinance that was passed by county council, there's not a lot of oversight that we can do as city council at this moment. The funding that has been issued, we'll have it on our agenda the next council meeting. And so I've requested they come to caucus so that we can ask questions during caucus at that next one. So just, if you can go over and just prepare in advance for any questions you might have for them, that we can discuss this at the next caucus.
Dr. Titus?
Yes.
I'm going to take the opportunity to discuss it at this caucus.
Please.
Because we don't have oversight. It's $65,000, I believe. And we've spent how much time on this? We have a $12 million deficit. And so if they were prepared, I'd vote today to release the money, the $65,000, because whatever they got going on, past and present, they can work that out. We got some other stuff we need to deal with that we are required to take care of, and that we did take an oath to do. And so wherever that lands, whoever that don't sit well with, so be it. It's $65,000. We have a $12 million hole. We have a housing crisis. We had all this development forthcoming, the CRIS and all of that stuff, and it's starting to get a little ridiculous about the amount of time that we're spending on it. I, for one, feel that way.
Thank you. Any other thoughts So that's why we won't have the full study session. They'll be present at Caucus. If we have no questions for them at Caucus next time, then we have no questions for them at Caucus next time. Anything else for the good of the order before we go?
Dr. Titus?
Yes.
If I could just let council know that PFM was in town this week, to your point about $12 million, of course. So they were here today. They met with most of our departments. I think tomorrow they still have Fire and Public Works and the Controller's Office. Again, those are management audits, so they're meeting with management. They're not meeting with the whole department. But I did sit with them at the end of the day to just get an update. Really want to share that they said all of our department heads were just wonderful to work with, very forthcoming with information, wanting to be very helpful. So I certainly appreciate our staff, certainly treating it that way. And PFM basically said to me, nothing we're hearing is any surprise. Things we expected to hear. They're asking a lot of questions about positions funded with grants and how those are being utilized in departments. So just wanted to give council that update that we're on track. After tomorrow, they'll go back, and then we can expect another kind of more full report from them, probably within the next month or so.
No, and I don't mean to just keep throwing that up, like, oh, we got 12 million, this is not a scare tactic, but it's first and foremost on my mind, and if I'm losing sleep over it, I think everyone should. I'm selfish and petty like that.
I assure you that I am as well.
No, I think it's well worth bringing up. I'm trying to think of any other announcements that we have. I know we have a resolution to go, and we have a presentation to go over Juneteenth, so I don't want to get ahead of that until we have the presentation and that we have the resolution read, but know that those celebrations are happening this weekend, which I'm sure we'll also go over in the liaison reports. I guess just for the new faces, for those in attendance, because I see several new faces, to kind of lay out a little bit of the process. The caucus that we have now in the evenings starts at 5:30 and goes to 6:30. So even if we wrap up, we can't start the public meeting until 6:30 because that's the time it was advertised as. So what will happen from here is very soon we will break. Council will probably go grab a drink and we'll reset this space. We will head then into our roll call. We'll do our Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have the presentation. There are no public hearings. We'll have a request for the repository sale, and then we'll go into public comment. And so that's the order of which it will play out. So just so you know what happens next is we're not ignoring anybody, but because when we advertise at a certain time, we have to abide by those times. So this would be a great time once we stop to reset. If you need to use the restroom, you need to grab a drink, I recommend to do that now. I also will use this time, and I'm going to repeat it again at 6:30, is that we have an ordinance on the books. It's 112, specifically section 10, and that's section D, talking about when we are doing public comment that no individual counselor can be addressed by name, that the body is supposed to be addressed as a whole. We're allowed to talk about behaviors, but we're not to call out any one individual. And so that is something that I intend to uphold tonight as part of the rules of council. But I think it's important just for the body to know, and anybody who might be coming to speak up, that is one of the ordinances that we have in the books right now.
So don't go telling everyone that Dr. Titus said that council is going to take a break and go get a drink. He's talking about a non-alcoholic drink.
Yes. We're getting
Although
hydrated.
I could use a drink.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, then we
Dr.
will...
Titus, real quick.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that I thank you for explaining what you did. It was very well explained. I thought I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So at this point, we have about 20 minutes before we start the public meeting. So we'll go ahead and get the space reset, and then we'll go into our public meeting.